What's up, y'all? We have another Breaking Bad boxing preview and prediction, and this week we have a great one. The IBF World Lightweight title on the line between Raymond Muratalla, the champion, 23 wins, 17 of those wins coming by way of knockout, 0 losses, 29 years old, the Orthodox fighter. And he is fighting Andy Cruz, the Orthodox fighter, the Cuban, 30 years old, former Olympian, 6 wins, 3 of those wins coming by way of knockout, 0 losses. What a fight that we have on our hands. Raymond Murataya won the interim IBF world title against Zaire Abdullayev in May of 2025, and he was officially upgraded to the full title holder in June of 2025. Though Andy Cruz is only 6-0, he's 135-9 in his amateur career. He has multiple wins over Keyshawn Davis in the amateurs. That is something to note because he has been fast-tracked in his 6 fights of his career, but this is definitely the biggest step up in competition by a country mile. Because when you go and look at Raymond Murataya's resume, it's absolutely stacked to the brim. Zaire Abdullayev, Temid Farmer, Zolani Nodeni, who I actually consider a hell of a gatekeeper, Jeremiah Nakatala, who actually finished Jeremiah Nakatala. These are just a bunch of good names, and he has been stacking scalps on his actual resume. I'm really curious to see how these styles clash up because I think they both do a lot of things very similarly and very well, but their styles are completely different. So let's jump into the X's and O's and let's jump into the tape of it and let's talk about it. Andy Cruz versus Antonio Moran. Pull counters from hell by Andy Cruz. Had a few moments of crossing his feet and putting himself out of position when he was chasing and following. Athleticism and speed pops off of the screen. Murataya is fast and athletic, but I think it's next level when it comes to the athleticism for someone like Andy Cruz. Knows how to pop and shift off the angles, consistently catching and shooting when his back is on the ropes, which I love to see. Cruz can attack from any angle in any moment. Doesn't need to have his plant feet in any necessary position. Cruz is an orthodox fighter. He likes to fight between the mix of a high guard that can be punctured down the middle with straight shots and a one-handed shell that he likes to float behind. Straight right hands to the body by Moran were landing to the body by Andy, and I think Murataya has great straight shots to the body, so it's something to look out for. The jab has 0 fat by Andy Cruz, absolutely has perfected his jab, knows how to cover ground well and will engage, but doesn't stay in these engagements for too long. Doesn't love the 50-50 exchange, is always looking to win the foot position and then fire off. Reaction timing is beautiful, but I think you can trust his reaction timing just a little bit. I think he lacks a polished inside game, doesn't know how to comfortably disengage from the clinch. Now, Cruz isn't a perfect defensive fighter at all. He was rocked with the overhand left when he was caught throwing a chopping 2 in round 4 by Moran, which gave him some wobbly legs. He recovered well, know how to move off, and then he clinched himself. Really, when I say clinching, he was really just holding, but he still recovered for the last 40 seconds. In round 6, Moran had a jab to the body, a slapping lead hand to the body, and as Cruz returned his own 2, Moran catches this and hit him with a straight right hand that rocked Cruz again. He can square up in 50-50 exchanges, I noticed too. Squares up his base when he's landing in these 50-50 exchanges and leaves himself a bit open. He was caught and rocked behind the ear in round 4. He recovered really well, and I felt like he passed the recovery test. He's a consistent body puncher, knows how to shovel up the variety, knows how to throw it straight. Great punch variety in general. I think both Raymond Murataya and Andy Cruz both have great punch variety, but I think Andy Cruz's punch variety is absolutely exceptional, especially from the way he can float his angles and change the trajectory of his punches. The pull to the finish Moran was absolutely beautiful. Perfect timing. I think he has a great mix of accuracy, timing, and pop on his right hand that I think underrates his power when it comes from the right hand of Andy Cruz. Now, his fight here versus Omar Salcido. Early feints and level changes were money, but these feints and level changes seemed to fade a little bit as the fight went on. His guard can be punctured with the straight rights down the pipe. Got a little bit too hittable in the later rounds versus Salcido for my liking. He also reached for Omar's punches with his paw and his parry hand, which is something to note that left himself open to be hit and countered. Lateral movement was absolutely incredible early. Seemed to slow down when he was comfortable in the fight and he felt he could take the power of Omar. Solid feints and blinders. I love that Cruz can fight in different variations, going forward, going backward, fighting on the lateral movement. His stop and start is A+. Knows how to stop on a dime. He can stop while going backward and puncture going forward. He knows how to put his high-low together while punching low to the body and then high up top, but I don't think he puts it together as well as someone like Raymond Murataya. He also hurt Salcido a few times in this fight, once in the 4th round, again in the 9th round. When he hurt him in the 9th round, it was off that stop and start that I discussed. He looked a little bit uncomfortable in the clinch here versus Salcido, but I think we're starting to see that grow a little bit fight over fight, as we'll talk about in the Kenshiro fight. And he did a great job with Salcido playing the push-pull game. He didn't really play the yo-yo, you go, I go. He was pushing and pulling him into traps all night. His fight versus Kenshiro. Incredible use of his lead hand. Probing to find range, creating punch volume, and finding openings for his backhand. Kenshiro's straight punches to the body had success here. Cruz never really seemed bothered in this fight, was consistently winning the foot position, smiling the whole fight, popping and moving around a stationary target. His use of level changes and feints, absolutely incredible. The 1-2 and follow-up 2 that dropped Shiro in round 3 was so precise and beautiful. I just think he mechanically knows how to put together the timing, the punch selection, the accuracy, and just enough speed on the right hand to where I think it generates a little bit of pop. More pop than people give him credit for, man. Again, I'm going to keep saying he has underrated pop in his right hand. This is one of the most punch-for-punch accurate performances I've seen. Shout out to my boy Jamie from Punch Perfect. This was a punch perfect performance here. He kept getting on the outside shoulder of Ken Shiro, shifting off angles from the outside to the inside foot. Cruz has moments of floating his chin a bit in these 50-50 exchanges while trading that can leave him to be tagged. He doesn't stay in these 50-50 exchanges for too long, but it's definitely something to note. He can lean a little bit over his base on the inside. After getting dropped the second time in round 3, Shiro literally looked like he was hit with a sandstorm, like he didn't know what just hit him. It was absolutely interesting to see the zoom in on the face. The way the camera zoomed in on his face was absolutely like an office moment in that. So go and watch it if you have a chance to go rewatch this fight. He was stepping through his uppercuts, looking to knock Ken Shiro's head clean off, was consistently freezing Shiro with the movement and disengagements and teetering back into these engagements. He went through the gears when he had Shiro hurt both times, and then he went through the killer instinct with the finish. I really liked Cruz's killer instinct in this fight. What do I like about Cruz? His punch variety, his movement, his athleticism, his speed and his angles, his pull counter game is awesome. His push and pull game is great. He has great pace, great cardio, accurate, a consistent body puncher. His right hand is underrated when it comes to his pop. I'm going to say it time and time again. His right hand is super underrated how much pop he has. What do I dislike about him? I think he lacks physicality. I think he lacks an inside game. He doesn't necessarily sit on his punches. He has defensive holes in these 50-50 exchanges, and he reaches a bit with his parry hand. I think he can possibly be chinny. We saw him get staggered a bit versus Omar Salcido, and then we also saw him get hurt against Moran twice, both in the 4th and the 6th round. It's definitely something to note here versus Raymond Murataya, who's a heavy hitter and has plenty of experience versus a lot of veterans. So let's talk about the champion, Raymond Murataya. Murataya versus Nodeni. Consistent and steady pressure makes the ring smaller for his opponent. He's an orthodox fighter behind a Philly shell, which I think his Philly shell is lacking a little bit. We'll discuss that. He also, like Cruz, can cross his feet when he's tracking. Great job extending his straight punches and making them longer from his base. Love how he's consistently working the body. High-low punching, knows how to mix it in variety. His defensive structure issues in his shell. He's not consistent with catching straight punches. Do the best job utilizing frames and shoulder rolls. Raymond Murataya has great feints, both in the foot and the hand variety. By round 3, he really punctured a gas tank in Nodeni, and he was trapping Nodeni against the ropes and in the corner. Seemed to make round over round improvements. In the first round, he was fighting from the long range, and round over round, he started to close that gap, get on the inside, work the body with that lead hand. That lead shovel hook under the elbow is absolutely money for someone like Raymond Murataya. Straight right hand to follow up top, and the straight right hand to the body to follow too as well. Good eyes, but Raymond Murataya can also be caught in 50-50 exchanges, much like Andy Cruz. Tricky hand fighting. He can use his paw to swipe and manipulate his opponent's guard. He doesn't reach with his paw hand either. He found out Nodeni by round 3 and was just consistently cutting off the space here, filling gaps with his punches, and he kept stopping Nodeni in his tracks with his offense. Anytime Nodeni would enter blind, he would catch him while he was entering. Great performance here versus Nodeni, who I consider a high-level gatekeeper. Raymond Murataya versus Tevin Farmer. Southpaw versus Orthodox matchup, even though Cruz is an Orthodox fighter. Still important to note because Tevin Farmer is a high-level veteran that can move. Foot position battles seem to give Raymond issues this whole fight. This fight showed me the Philly shell wasn't as effective as you would like to see it here. He ate a bit of shots from the rear hand from Raymond Farmer, and the lead hand was catching him with straight shots all night. Raymond had issues trapping and cornering Farmer. I do love how Raymond closed the gap by the mid-range and turned it into a pocket scrap late. Rear uppercut on the inside is absolutely sneaky from someone like Raymond Murataya. Again, that guard manipulation is good from the inside game. Sweeping left hand that used to push Farmer into his right hand. In round 10, he had this beautiful moment where he's on the inside throwing a few feeler throwaway shots, and then he changes the speed and the angle and throws a fastball and staggers Raymond with a sweeping right hand. Staggers Farmer with a sweeping right hand. Great cardio and shape by Raymond here. I didn't question this whatsoever. I felt like his volume actually increased round over round. He made it more physical, and he was stepping on the gas for Farmer. He can enter the engagement without a blinder or feeler, and Farmer was making him pay for this at times. He grew physically in this fight. I feel like he was doing a good job making his weight heavy on Farmer, and he was also attacking the body consistently. The stop and start of Farmer was giving Andy Murataya issues in this fight, so please keep that noted for this one. His fight against Zauer, I do want to say Zauer was a stationary opponent right in front of him, so it's going to be a little bit of a different stylistic matchup, but Zauer is still a high-level fighter. Natural tendency to counter, and I love the catch and shoot here by Raymond. His combination punching was great here, especially the 1-2-4 in this fight. The 1-2-4 could not miss in this case. Controlled the terms of engagement, kept it safe from range, ate a bit of jabs and straight shots to the body from Zauer, but of course, that's lacking in his Philly shell efficiency. You saw the issues in his base here. Leaned a little bit back over his base with his shoulder roll and got caught with the jabs, or he anticipated the straight shots on the wrong side and would catch it, not in time. Knows how to rock the boat with his kinetic chain and movement. We saw his lead uppercut here was absolutely incredible. His kinetic chain used to his lead uppercut is something that I think is sneaky and could give someone like Andy Cruz issues, who on the inside, Andy Cruz can lead over his own base. He looked sturdy and strong in this fight. I felt like he was the strongest we've seen him look. I felt like he fought with a lot of swag. He downloaded Zauer very early. I think Raymond has really good ring IQ over there. I think he builds round over round in the fight, and he knows how to download a fighter. He knows how to catch the reads of him. He gets caught taking photos. He'll stop and stare, and he'll eat shots while he's taking these photos. Great performance here, but I really think it was one pace for me. I don't think he really ever went through the gears or really ever tried to put the foot on the gas against Zauer. I also think Murataya's feet are a bit slow, especially when he's trying to track his opponents. What do I like about Raymond Murataya? I love his steady pressure and pace, his consistent body punching, good distance management, great ring IQ, his cardio, his resume. Wow, what a resume. Tricky hand fighting, also great punch variety. He's going to have the physicality advantage in this case, and I think he has a great chin. Even when we saw him flash dropped against Galindo, it was more of a flash dropping and never really seemed hurt at all. What do I dislike about him? He has slow tracking feet. I think he can lose his balance. He'll stop and take photos. And my biggest dislike, his shell. I think his shell is very inefficient for his style of fighting. He's a forward style of pressure fighter that relies on his counter game, and I think his shell isn't efficient enough to work that kind of style. I also think Murataya also lacks gears. I'd like to see him step on the gears and go through that killer instinct a bit more. Ultimately, I think this is an incredibly close fight. I think the inside game and the thudding power of Murataya could give someone like Andy Cruz issues where Andy Cruz isn't defensively perfect. Andy Cruz definitely can be hit to the body, and he'll have those lapses of moments where he can get caught in these 50-50 exchanges and he'll get tagged. And Raymond Murataya is a big thumper. He has some heavy hands and he can hurt you. He also has some tricky hand fighting himself that I think can give Andy Cruz issues if Andy Cruz is reaching too far with his paw and his parry hand. Now, my issue here is I think that Raymond Murataya may enter too blindly, and he's going to be eating jabs for the issues all night. I think his feet are a little bit slow, and I think he has issues with tracking someone like Andy Cruz. But I think fight over fight, he's going to have a pretty good job at closing down the gap and finding Andy Cruz eventually. Now, this is probably the closest fight of the month here, guys. I think the odds are a little bit off when it comes to someone like Andy Cruz being a -260 favorite. I don't necessarily see that. I do think Andy Cruz should be the rightful favorite, but I think this fight is extremely close. Now, all of that being said could be a little bit contradictory to my actual official prediction here. My official prediction is Andy Cruz by decision. I think Raymond Murataya eats way too many jabs and has way too many issues tracking and finding fighters. And I think over 12 rounds, I think Andy Cruz is definitely going to eke out 7 of these rounds here with his jab, his feeling, his boxing acumen, his popping and his moving, and his consistent body work to possibly slow down the feet of Raymond Murataya. One thing I think it is important to note, though, is Andy Cruz does eat shots in these 50-50 exchanges, and Raymond Murataya is a tricky fighter. Knows how to use hand fighting to his advantage. He knows how to close down the distance, and he has great ring IQ and knows how to download fighters. He also has Robert Garcia in his corner, who is a hell of a cornerman and just knows how to give great advice round over round. I think Raymond Murataya has all the recipes to make this fight extremely close with great inside fighting, some pretty thudding power, and great variety himself. But ultimately, I think he's just going to have some bit of issues when it comes to tracking Andy Cruz, and I think it comes to eating the jab and blinders and feelers. I do like Andy Cruz to get it done in a 7-5 type of decision, but this is one of those fights you really need to watch live and really need to watch closely. In this fight, I'm not running to the ticket window to go bet Andy Cruz at -110 by decision. I think you can watch this fight closely live and possibly get a better read live for it. There is a chance that Andy Cruz puts on a 12-round schooling in this case and gives him a boxing lesson, but I think Raymond Murataya is way too high IQ for that. I think Raymond Murataya is going to have a lot of tricky and sneaky moments in this case here for you. So I think it's going to make for an interesting live line at some point. So ultimately, give me Andy Cruz by decision. With that being said, y'all, love, peace, chicken grease. See you guys next time.